to promote the notion that Ukraine was somehow involved in the attack. That's something the authorities in Kiev have fiercely denied.
Recapping your top story, Special Advisor to the National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula says had the NPA found what it had been looking for when it raided a house, it would have arrested her. For SAFM News, I am Luyanda Maume. Headlines at 1:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
Did you know that government has set a minimum amount for employers to pay their employees and workers? In 2018, the National Minimum Wage Act 09 of 2018 was passed in South Africa. It makes it compulsory for all employers to pay employees and workers a minimum wage. In 2024, the national minimum wage for all workers, including domestics, farm and forestry workers, is 27 Rand 58 cents per hour. The minimum wage for workers on the Expanded Public Works Programme, EPWP, is 15 Rand 16 cents. If your employer is not paying you the national minimum wage, please contact a labour inspector at a labour centre near you. The Department of Employment and Labour, working for you.
Unlock a world of benefits. Welcome to SABC's TV License Rewards program. Ready to make your viewing experience more rewarding? Say hello to perks that go beyond just watching TV. Join us today at sabctvlicenserewards.co.za and instantly receive your first reward. But wait, there's more. You can get up to 500 Rand back. Become part of something bigger, a movement where watching TV isn't just a hobby. It's a catalyst for positive change. Register.
She comes from Stockholm, Sweden, and very much into soul R&B. Living in My Dreams is the name of this particular song, and it comes off the album Ethereal, which came out round about 2022, 2023. If I'm correct, this would have been her debut EP that was released after much anticipation. And of course, like most musicians to come out of this particular era, also relying quite a bit on social media traction in order to build her fan base and introduce her music to wider audiences, outside of the traditional structures of waiting on record labels to sign you and then having some kind of marketing and brand strategy, etc., etc. A lot of the younger artists now just really taking their careers into their own hands and determining how and where and to whom their music is presented. That is how we say good afternoon to you on this beautiful, cool Monday afternoon outside of town. I don't think it signifies autumn finally settling in. I just think we're having probably a very nice cloudy day. I hope you're having a good one as well in whichever corner of the country you are at. And most likely a lot of people this week are taking things nice and easy because we are in the middle of the first term break with a lot of kids now officially on leave from school or gearing up to be on leave from school over the next couple of days, depending whether or not your bundles of joy are in public or private schools and also which public private schools they are in. Ooh, these terms are also confusing, but I know that somewhere in the midst of everything over the next 2 weeks, we are going to be seeing a lot of midterm breaks coming through, meaning that mom and dad get to take things a little bit easier, particularly in the mornings. We're going to be catching up today with the guys from Proudly South African, and we're going to be talking about buying local. They're having the 12th annual Buy Local Summit, which is happening right now. It's underway over the next 2 days. We're also going to be catching up with Sasco, who have embarked on a brand new campaign, or on a campaign rather, where they are trying to boost Mzansi's communities through positive play, and they'll tell us more about what all that entails. And then, of course, the folks from the French Institute, it's a brand new year, which means that the calls are up and the applications are now open for the Fête de la Musique. So if you are if you are a music practitioner of sorts, the Festival of Music could be for you. Applications are open. They'll tell us what the criteria of that that is. On the other side of 2, we take a look at Career Mondays, and we're looking at corporate menopause awareness. This conversation has been a hot topic conversation on social media right now. There's a menopause movement that is galvanizing worldwide, and we thought we'd tap into it. But I'll tell you more about what's coming up on the other side of 2 closer to the time. 086 000 2032 is the number you can call us on, or 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line if you'd like to send through a WhatsApp message. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We are catching up with the South African CEO, Bridget Masinga, and we're talking around the Buy Local Summit, which is happening right now. It's a 2-day summit, and it's convening stakeholders well, let me not say it, but and creating a platform for engagement and perhaps potential business meetups for people across various sectors. How are you doing this afternoon, Eustace?
Hi, Bridget. Good, thank you. Yourself?
I'm fantastic, thank you. So it's been over 10 years now of the Buy Local Summit, and as you reflect back on the last 12 years, how has the summit fared and grown, obviously, over the span of time?
No, thank you. So the summit is 12 years old officially. This is the 12th edition. And it has really grown because, when we started, as an example, it used to be a 1-day conference. Now we have a 2-day conference just because of the enormity of, this localization space and how important it has become to the country, where today we focus predominantly or over and above the policy space from a government perspective in terms of making the environment conducive. We also look at what big business is doing to drive local procurement in the country. And tomorrow, on day 2, we focus on how localization is driven from a small business perspective. Because SMMEs really are going to be the beneficiaries of the commitments that are made by big business today to say they're going to buy local. Those need to be passed on to entities that are going to then deliver that request from the private sector that says, help us start replacing and substituting that which we were buying from outside of the country. And so it has really grown. The expo started off as a 1-day exhibition platform for our members. Now it's a 2-day exhibition, more than 200 companies showcasing their products, representing thousands of actual products from those 200 companies. And so the event itself has really grown.
Yeah. And of course, this is, as you allude, it is a mixture of small, medium and large enterprises coming together here. And what's been beneficial to driving a more positive change towards particularly local manufacturing would ultimately lead to, consuming local?
Look, I think the biggest benefit is jobs. We all know of the huge unemployment problem that continues to persist in the country. And so it's one of those tried and tested ways in which developed economies have been able to grow their economies, sustain their economies, create jobs for the masses. If you look at a quick example of the US, they even have legislation dating as far back as 1933. We saw a week ago President Biden again talking about Buy American provisions and how important they are to stabilizing their economy and ensuring that they get it to a point where it starts absorbing as many of their unemployed people as possible. So it's not unique to us. And so what we are calling on South Africans to do through this event is to ensure that, as they make purchasing decisions, this is the one thing that we all do. Every single one of us makes a purchasing decision, no matter how big, no matter how small. And as consumers, our purchasing decisions can go a long way. Big business, and we are seeing today with the conversations happening here, the procurement spend at their disposal is big. And just with them just ring-fencing items that they're going to buy local, we have seen over the years, this program of the private sector saying that, they're going to make commitments to buy local started in 2018. And there are many success stories. Every year we produce up to 100 success stories, case studies of companies who've benefited from our interventions.
Let's take a quick pause here and we'll come back and continue our conversation.
Fly better to your next holiday. Book your flights with Emirates to a holiday in Dubai, London, Istanbul, or Paris. Look forward to delicious regionally inspired cuisine, enjoy free-flowing premium drinks, and relax to your favorite movies on the way. Because it's not just about the destination, it's how you get there. This year, fly Emirates. Fly better.
SAFM Sunrise with Stephen Grootes.
What do you want national government to do? You've got a petition of 20,000 residents. What are you asking national government to do?
We are demanding that the Minister of Water and Sanitation to fulfill his constitutional obligation to ensure that the citizens of Makana get clean and drinkable water. At the present moment, Makana is facing a great water disaster in crisis. People are forced to drink water that is contaminated with human waste. We package all the material evidence showing that there is an organized criminal syndicate group that operates in the water and sanitation in Makana.
Lungile, thank you. All right, serious claims made there by Lungile Mkube, chair of the Makana Citizens Front.
SAFM Sunrise with Stephen Grootes, 6 to 9 a.m.
Attention filmmakers, are you ready? It's time to showcase the vibrant tapestry of KZN's cultural heritage at the Simon Mabuno Sabela KZN Film and Television Awards, South Africa's ultimate celebration of cinematic excellence. In partnership with SABC and KZN EDTEA, we champion innovation, paving the way for the future of cinema. And this year, we go beyond imagination. Cut, edit your 1-minute submissions, because call for entries is now open until the 28th of March 2024. And for more information, you can visit kznfilm.co.za or follow us on our social media platforms. Join the conversation using hashtag SSA24. KZN Film, our kingdom is your stage.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We are in conversation with proudly South African CEO Eustace Mashimbia, and we're talking around the importance of buying local, of course. This is, as you've said just before we went to a break, Eustace, buying local, consciously buying and making conscious purchasing decisions ultimately affects the economy. It's an economic driver, and it's a creator of jobs. And in a country like ours, it's very important for us to be the stimulus to the change we want to see.
No, definitely. And that's why our consumer education program is centered around educating consumers on the economic impact of their purchasing decisions. Because people need to understand, and I'm going to pick on a country, Bridget, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
China. If you buy a product that comes from China, you're effectively creating jobs in China. And that's why the Chinese sit with the lowest level of unemployment consistently, because they're able to create jobs for their people, because we are all buying from them. The Chinese are buying from themselves, but they've become a market. They've made everyone in the world a market for their products. And so that is one of the important lessons to be learned from the fact that if you are making a product and there's a market and there's a demand for it, from a market in which you operate, already you are winning. Then exports follow and it becomes a supplement. And then you know that even those who are in a position to can invest knowing that the market in the country where they've invested will support them. And I think that is the biggest lesson to be taken out of what is happening with the likes of China and now with India and Singapore and some of these economies who are not even doing as well as we are, but who have been able to get that right based on having localization practices and policies.
I saw a colleague of yours this morning who was doing some media rounds, and he was using the example, for instance, of that South Africa is one of 3 countries that manufacture the Mercedes-Benz C-Class. And I also know many years ago, having spoken to, the head of Mercedes global sales, that South Africa was also one of the biggest consumers of that very same model of car. And your colleague was putting the challenge out, for instance, to the big rental companies to say a conscious decision to procure cars that are manufactured in South Africa. And I wonder, at that scale, how conscious are people, if we had to use that example, for instance, to ensure that you are procuring things that are manufactured, built and made in South Africa?
That's a challenge for proudly South African. The consciousness has really grown. Social media has played a big role in ensuring that, more and more people are aware of the fact that, some of the things that you require on a day-to-day basis to just get through your day are available in the country, and so you can buy them locally. We even conceptualized a campaign a couple of years ago known as Living Lekker Locally, which was basically about going through every single aspect of your day on locally made products. So getting out of a locally made bed, utilizing cosmetic products that are sourced locally, soaps, etc., wearing clothes that are made locally, and then ending up driving a car that is made locally, the C-Class. And so the responsibility sits with proudly South African. And so to then answer the second part of what you mentioned is the fact that we are, actively engaging those who buy cars. I mean, today we got commitments from the private sector. One of the commitments, coincidentally, was from the South African Vehicle Renting and Leasing Association. So they represent all car rental agencies, whether they're big or small. Think of anyone that you normally rent a car from. Think of anyone that has leasing options if you don't necessarily want to buy a car outright. We are saying to them, hold hands with us. And today they delivered a commitment that said they are going to now, going forward, start prioritizing as part of their fleets locally made cars. So if, for example, it's a car which is in the category B, you mentioned the C-Class. Let's say the category B is Polo, the Polo Classic or the Polo Vivo. That is part of that category. They're going to buy more of that. And that is the commitment that we are boasting about today, because a couple of years ago, we would not have had that kind of consciousness, like you put it, for people to know that their purchasing decisions can make a difference and that they need to contribute to this economy so that more and more of us stay employed and can afford to even go on holiday and even rent their cars. And that is where we are. When I look back to when I started in this role about 7 years ago to where we are, it has really gone. And social media, like I said, partnerships with business have all contributed in a big way.
I must admit, on a lighter note, when he made that statement this morning, I thought to myself, I wonder if I have the capacity to walk into the garage as an individual and say, let me know where this car was manufactured before I buy it.
But maybe you should. Maybe consumer activism is really about that. I mean, the chairman of our board talked about the fact that when he goes to buy his jeans, and he's even taught his wife, that is the biggest joke in the organization, but it's actually what we should all be doing. He says he calls the assistants and he says to them, show me that which is locally made. And if they don't have anything, he walks out and he makes it clear to them that he's walking out because they do not cater to his needs as an economically patriotic citizen of this country. And so we need more and more people like that. And I know that we have many more people like that. Every year we honor, people who do that. Last year we honored Thabo Mokwele. The other year we honored two other people who are also doing the same thing. And so we are seeing a lot more people who are influential in society doing that. And so we continue to find advocates, ambassadors who advocate for the buying of locally made products, because we see that people do follow trends, especially of those who are influencers in society.
Absolutely. Eustace, thank you for the time this afternoon. That was proudly South African CEO Eustace Mashimbia joining us in conversation. We're going to take a quick one, and then Luyanda Maumi is standing by to bring you the headline news.
Thank you.
Tweet at SAFM Radio and at Bridget Masinga.
Good afternoon, Bridget. In your headlines, the Electoral Court has confirmed that judgment in the ANC's application challenging the registration of Umkhonto weSizwe Party has been delayed. Delivery of judgment was expected earlier today. Special advisor to the National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula says had the NPA found what it was looking for when it raided her house, it would have arrested her. Last week, the NPA raided Mapisa-Nqakula's home in Johannesburg in search of evidence relating to corruption allegations against her. And votes have been counted in Senegal following the first round of the country's presidential election yesterday. The first trends that polling stations have published reveal a notable lead for opposition candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye over his government opponent Amadou Ba. I'll have details on these and other stories at 2.
Beyond the headline on SAFM.
Zimbabwe is currently battling drought, and it's public knowledge that the country's economy is not doing well. Dr. Musarara is now joining us on the line. How bad is the situation?
Situation is, as you rightly put it, we are negatively impacted by the El Nino-induced drought. This has seriously damaged our crop this year, and we had anticipated this occurrence, and hence we commenced importing maize in October of last year from South Africa.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Dafadzwa Musarara, who's the president of the Grain Millers Association in Zimbabwe.
Beyond the headline with Aldrin Sampear, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. Whether we are at the workplace, within communities, at school, or with our friends and family, we all need to demonstrate the kind of responsibility that we would like to see in our country's future. SFM commemorates Human Rights Month. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It is the full circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM on this fine Monday afternoon, leading the conversation, and hopefully on the back of our conversation with the CEO of Proudly South African. You perhaps are considering some of your purchasing decisions and what motivates them. Are you buying more local, more locally manufactured goods and products? And it's really not about aesthetics, right? It's just about having the conscious mind to ensuring that at least the majority of the things that you consume within your household, everything from food to the apparel that you wear to where possible, even the automobiles that you drive, conscientizing yourself that it is manufactured locally. We have a very robust, by the way, automobile manufacturing sector here, where some of the big names are assembled here, as you do know. And as my guest Eustace was saying, that perhaps it might seem far-fetched when we throw it out there to say the next time you go into one of the manufacturers that you know assemble in South Africa, you do ask, how many of the cars on the floor come from Port Elizabeth? And then just buy one of those. Why not, right? A lot of people actually, when we have this conversation, they say, shouldn't we be getting the cars at a slight discount considering that they are manufactured there? But I think that's a completely different conversation that I'm not well versed on. But I hope you are buying proudly South African products, made in SA products. And it's part and parcel also why we do the feature Made in SA once a week, so we can introduce you to more and more people who actually do manufacture and produce locally, whatever it may be, and we tend to like introducing you to people who are within the world of creative and design and the world of beauty and fashion and things like that, things that are easy, where you don't have an excuse as to why are you not buying local. Do you buy local? That is the question. Do you actually buy local? Do you make sure that most of the things that you and your family consume are locally manufactured, locally sourced, locally farmed, locally assembled? Is that a conscious thing that you perhaps keep in the back of your mind, that you should be buying local? And maybe if you don't buy local, why don't you buy local? And people have a whole host of reasons as to why they're not buying local. And your reasons could be valid, and could lead to improvements in particular sectors. You could be giving people things to consider as to why you are not enticed to buy local, and then they can take it into their next war room and think about it. 086 000 2032 is the number you can call us on, or 061 410 4107. That is our WhatsApp line.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. Equality, human dignity, freedom of movement and residence. Life. Everyone has the right to life. Human Rights Month on SAFM. Beyond the headline on SAFM.
Generally, from side to side, do you find that there is an issue around the employment of teachers, your members, who have been convicted, who do make their way through the system and fall through the cracks?
Well, it is possible until the time when there was a decision by the South African Council of Educators to then say anyone who has got to be employed must produce proof that they have not been convicted of any crime, in particular sexual conduct or sexual crimes. If there are those who have been employed before, therefore, because they have not been verified.
Thank you so much. That is Mukwena Maluleka, who is the General Secretary of the South African Democratic Teachers Union.
Beyond the headline with Aldrin Sampear, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
A quick catch-up now with SASCO Marketing Manager Nomawethu Ngandlela, and we're talking around SASCO's Siyasizana initiative, which is back and proudly announcing the launch of the second season of this transformative Play Better campaign. How are you doing, Nomawethu?
I'm fine, thanks, Bridget. How are you?
I'm fantastic. All right, second iteration, from what I understand, of this campaign. Give us the sort of genesis of why SASCO initiated this.
Thank you for having us from SASCO Bridget on your show. We love your show, by the way.
Thank you.
So, for us, the journey continues. Our vision as SASCO is to impact more than 5 million children by 2030. You'll ask us, what is this SASCO Siyasizana? Why are we doing this? When we look at research, we realize that more than 22% of children in South Africa don't have safe spaces to play. And as people who care, we couldn't just sit back and observe the children struggling with this, and we raised our hand and we partnered with DOE and said we will go to ECDs and then we will go to primary schools and implement playgrounds to the selected ones. And if you really want to be part of this project, it's very easy actually. You go to any of the retailers or even the sponsor shop in the township, because SASCO is available everywhere. You buy your bread, you then nominate a school. You'll see there's a QR code there. Nominate a school that you want to select for the playground. You could also win yourself 5,000 rands, by the way. Easy like that.
Oh, lovely. So the more a school gets nominated, the more likely it is to get a playground or the playground upgraded?
Exactly that, project. And we're a very inclusive brand, right? We know positive play is for everyone. So we don't select specific areas. As long as you're within South Africa and you're supporting the brand, you're buying the product, then you have the right to nominate the school within the competition period, which is ending, I think, 31st of April.
31st of April. Now, the importance, of play. Why is play such an important aspect of a child's development?
That's a very good question, Bridget. Thank you. So we've partnered with smart people like child psychologists, all the people that will help us to really impact children positively, because they are very close to our heart. We realize that a lot of skills that the children require to be the best citizens in this country, they learn it through play. I mean, teamwork is learned through play. There's also social skills, and there's a lot of skills that children learn through the angle of play. And this is why, for us, we want children to be children, and not because of safety. Now they cannot go and play. We limit that, and we limit them only to the screens. We know, of course, my daughter, spends all her time on the games and. But it's important for them to go out there and start mingling with other children, so that they can learn the social skills that are required to be better citizens. You know this, Bridget. Better citizens, better children is equal to better citizens for the country. And that's what we want at SASCO.
And I guess it just makes also perfect sense, right, for your brand as SESCO to be tapping into this educational space, particularly at ECD and primary level, considering that I would venture to say that the bulk of your consumer and clients are actually the people who are going to be the beneficiaries ultimately of these upgraded and souped up playgrounds.
Exactly that, Bridget. We are nothing without communities. We are nothing without children. I don't know spend a lot of time thinking about SASCO SEM, but this is why you see SASCO SEM going to children and educating them about positive play, and of course encouraging them not to bully others, because we want school to be that happy place for all the children in South Africa, because we want all of them to go to school.
Yeah. So 31st of April, Nomawetu, that is the cutoff of the campaign for anybody that is looking to nominate their school. You've got to look out for the special campaign bread for this next month or so.
Exactly, Bridget. It's been running from January, and it's going to close 31st of April. And Bridget, before you let me go, I'm going to ask you to say this after me. People who care make things better.
People who care make things better.
I like it.
Nomawetu, thank you so much for the time today. That was SESCO's marketing manager, Nomawetu Ngandlela, joining us. So there you go. You can nominate a school of your choosing. They will get anywhere in the 9 provinces. Make sure you nominate your school as many times as possible using the QR codes found on their products. And then your school could get a fabulous playground upgrade, and they're focusing more on ECD and primary schools. So it could be your school, your old school, your child's school, your neighborhood school, the school from the Lali that you grew up in, the school that you think is most deserving. This sounds like a lovely initiative, and you've got until the 31st of April to mobilize that. Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Alrighty, as we catch up with Sophie Boulay, who is the Cultural Attaché and Deputy Director of the French Institute of South Africa, and they're excited to announce the launch of the application process for the highly anticipated 2024 edition of Fête de la Musique. How are you doing, Sophie?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Cannot complain. Let's jump straight into it. This is, I think, a festival that those who know about it get really excited about it. Give us some context for Fête de la Musique for those who may not be familiar or who are maybe hearing about it for the first time today.
Yes, Fête de la Musique is a free festival, friendly family for all, and it takes place on the 22nd of June. Every year it takes place in June, and it is called the World Music Day. And we are very happy to have one day of music. You can listen to jazz, soul, funk, rock, electro, reggae, and it's free and it's family friendly. And the French Institute is organizing this. I've been organizing this fête for several years, for 13 years. Sorry.
And this is a festival, Sophie, that, as you said, it's World Music Day. It doesn't just take part in isolation in South Africa, but it's a part of a greater initiative by the French Institute worldwide.
Yes, this is this is an initiative that took place for the first time 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago in France, in Paris. And in Paris, it is also an exciting event. You can go outside and it is all night long. A lot of bands can do music everywhere. This is exceptional in France. And now more than 100 cities are doing their own Fête de la Musique. So it became a real worldwide event. And usually it takes place around June for the solstice, the summer solstice in Europe. It means for South Africa, this is the winter solstice.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in terms of who can, be involved, applications are open. Tell us firstly, who fits the criterion to be able to apply?
So if you are a band, if you are a musician, if you are a singer, you can apply, and it's open to all. The idea is to give to young bands an opportunity to perform on stage and also to develop their skills for performing music. So we really want to support the musical industry sector, and this we provide workshops and masterclass and also an opportunity to play on stage. So it's really, really important for the musical industry in South Africa.
And I love that element, right? Because it's not just about the bands that get to ultimately play on the day, but it's also about knowledge and information sharing through these workshops and masterclasses that are held for participants.
Exactly. It's also we provide networking, and we have a lot of success stories. As the Fête de la Musique has been organized for several years. For example, Saki, Something Soweto, Nakane, Urban Village, they all perform for the Fête de la Musique. So I mean, we also want to provide this network and to continue this kind of success stories for the young artists that became well known.
And I love those names, Saki, Something Soweto, Nakane, all of them coming out of this festival, because it really is. I mean, I know that, in Joburg, it's one of those dates that music lovers and festival goers really get excited about. It's quite the vibe to just even come and experience the day.
Yes, really. And this year we add a new category. We add the slam poetry. So it will be also excited for slam poet to perform. So we really want to be as inclusive as possible. That's why we decided to renew this fete and to add this new discipline, the slam poetry.
Let's talk a bit also about the application process for the festival for 2024.
Yes, so you can apply until the 15th of April, but we will stop the call when we will reach 300 applications. So please, I recommend you to apply as soon as possible, because when we will reach 300 applicants, it will be finished. And to let you know, we already have more than 100 applicants.
Oh, okay. So we're almost there. We're 1/3 of the way there already. 15th April is the deadline, or 300 applications, whichever comes first. And I get the feeling that the 300 applications are going to come first. Make sure that you get everything in order. For everybody that is now interested, Sophie, and that wants to apply, for all the creative performers that are listening, which portal is to be utilized for applications?
So you have to follow us on Instagram. You have to follow Friends in South Africa on Instagram, or on Facebook you have to follow the French Institute of South Africa on Facebook, and then you will have all the information.
Lovely stuff. We always love social media because it makes it so easy. Sophie Boulay, thank you so much for the time. Merci beaucoup. And
Thank
Sophie is the Merci. She's the cultural attaché and deputy director of the French Institute of South Africa. So as you heard, those applications are open if you are a musician, a band, a singer. They've added a new category for slam poets. So if you are a poet, a DJ, all the genres of performance, really, there's an opportunity there for you or your family member who ticks one of these boxes. The applications are open until the 15th of April or until 300 applications are reached. And I think 300 applications will be reached before the 15th of April, and you can log on to the social media platforms. You just find the French Institute on the social media platforms, and they'll have all the necessary links and places for you to go in order to download and submit all of your files. 22nd of June 2024 in Johannesburg at Victoria Yards is where this year's Fit Telemusiek is going to be hosted. It's just gone past 10 to 1 o'clock on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. We're going to get into Kids Corner that should run us till the top of the hour, and then Luyanda is standing by with the latest in your 2 o'clock bulletin.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
My name is Jonaka Malihas. I am 10 years old. I live at Middleland Zone 7. My school is Tumbezo Primary. I'm here to talk about ways to deal with educational challenge during school holidays. Since the first day of term 1, the first term was great and exciting because I passed on good marks in all subjects. Yes, I do experience some challenge in mathematics. I managed the challenge I experienced in my schoolwork during term 1 by practicing mathematics every day. Yes, I am planning on working on some of the subjects and topics that were challenging me during the school holiday.
Hello, my name is Monet Angel Ngobera. The first term has been really good for me. Yes, I did experience some challenges in my schoolwork, but I got help from my teachers. So another way that I used to manage my challenges was me asking help from my parents and focusing more on that specific thing that I was struggling with, so that at least I could understand more, so that I don't get confused. Yes, I am planning on working on some of the subjects and topics that were challenging during term 1 during the school holidays. But I'm also thinking that I should take a break. So in the first week, I'll be revising and everything. And then in the second week, I'll just be resting. Think and have a lovely day. And let us learn how to deal with educational challenges during school holidays.
Hi there. My name is Duretsa Nglu, and I go to Macaulay House School. For me, the first term has been hard because we've been getting lots of homework from our teachers. On top of that, we had to study for cycle tests, which did not disturb me as much. I used to sleep late because of the amount of schoolwork we'd get. My parents were never happy with this. I did, however, manage this by starting my homework immediately when I got home from school. I also got some help from my parents and my siblings. I do plan on working on the subjects and topics that I have been struggling with at school so that I can work well in term 2.
Good day, everyone. My name is Zamongoza Mayana, and today I will be talking about ways to deal with educational challenges during school holidays. The first term since the beginning of the school year has been a mix of challenges and growth for me. I was intimidated by the transition from grade 6 to grade 7, but as the term progressed, I began to adjust and apply myself more diligently to my classes. One of the challenges I encountered during term 1 was time management. Balancing multiple assignments and studying for tests required a more structured approach than I was used to. To address this challenge, I started using a planner to keep track of deadlines and important dates. This helped me organize my time effectively and prioritize tasks based on their urgency. As the school holiday approaches, I plan on continuing continue working on improving my academic skills and addressing any remaining challenges from term 1. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Hello, beautiful people of Mzansi. My name is Lwanzi Hlongwane. To be totally honest with you, the first day was one of the best days because we never really did any work. And the teachers looked very, very nice. And it just looked like it was going to be a very exciting term. But now that it's ended, oh my gosh, all I can say is, wow, what a term. This was one of the worst terms of my life, and not because of the work or anything, just in general. Like, it's an environment that I'm not very used to. Everyone is just so work focused. There's nothing to laugh about anymore. Nothing is funny. Nothing is fun anymore. You can't even do anything on weekends. What you have to spend your time doing is homework. That's how much work you get. It's very stressful. Oh my gosh, I don't even have the words to explain how terrible this term was. I think the only challenges that I've experienced in schoolwork is the workload. The workload is absolutely immense. It's so much. As I grow and as I go into the year, I will definitely manage the workload and I'll definitely get the hang. But currently, I am drowning in work. I haven't really been struggling in any of my subjects so far, but I think one that I can say I'm not really proud of is geography, but it's not enough for me to really look into extra classes or look into studying it more. I just feel like I didn't take much time during my study time for that specific subject. So I think when tests come, I will definitely know that I have to have a proper study schedule.
Hello friends, and happy new week. I hope you had a fantastic weekend filled with moments that made you smile. Isn't it hard to believe that the first term school holidays are finally here? Can you even remember how the first term was like since day one? No doubt that many of us have faced challenges with our schoolwork this term. Some topics or subjects may have been a bit tough for you. But don't worry. Today, let's talk about how we can overcome these challenges during these holidays. The first term holidays are a great time for you to take a break from your academic life and have some fun. It's the perfect opportunity to relax, try new activities, and spend time with your loved ones. However, this period is also a great opportunity for you to learn more and work on challenges you faced at school on certain concepts. Always remember your learning should not stop even though school gates are closed. During the school holidays, try to develop a love for learning. It's a chance for you to work on the challenges you faced in school and improve your understanding on certain concepts. Keep your mind active and curious. You may be wondering, how can I do that? Now let's talk about some strategies that can help you deal with educational challenges during the holidays. First off, establish a balanced daily routine. It's important to have a sense of structure and routine, but also be flexible. Try to wake up and go to bed at a consistent time to regulate your internal clock. Allocate specific times for reading or educational activities. And don't forget to do your chores on time to have a balanced day. Engage in uplifting activities. While it's important to relax during the holidays, it's also a great time to learn and explore new things. Try to deepen your understanding of certain concepts by reading and doing research. You can also ask your parents, guardians, siblings for help. Go outside and experience nature. It can be a great way to appreciate the world around you. If possible, visit libraries and watch educational and informative videos. Remember, the holidays are a time for fun and relaxation, but also for personal growth and learning. Make the most out of this break and go back to school feeling refreshed and ready to take on new challenges. Have a fantastic holiday.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives. Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Super Journo, SABC sports journalist, Mazola Molefe. Coach Bruce, we know about his public spat in the media with Rulani Mokoena about some of the Sundowns players who are allegedly injured. What do you make of this whole situation, and how do we resolve the club versus country situation going forward?
Yeah, I stand to be corrected, Michael, but I think this is the last FIFA break up until those qualifiers in June. I think,
yes, that's right.
You know, it's an opportune time for Coach Hugo Bruce during the month of April and May to just set up time and meet with the coaches, because these public spats aren't helping anyone. You know, just set up a meeting when you are in Belgium. Just fly across to the UK and have a coffee with Vincent Kompany. In South Africa, he's here all the time. Set up a meeting with the coaches.
Top Sport on SAFM. Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
In our top stories at 2, the Electoral Court confirms judgment delay in the ANC IEC matter, and the NPA resolute on bail opposition in the Jocelyn Smith matter. This is SAFM News. A very good afternoon. I am Luyanda Maume. The Electoral Court has confirmed that judgment in the ANC's application challenging the registration of Umkhonto weSizwe Party has been delayed. Delivery of judgment was expected earlier today. The ANC cited irregular procedures in the registration of the newly formed and endorsed by former President Jacob Zuma. The MK party submitted that the ANC did not follow internal IEC processes to have the registration process reviewed. The IEC told the court that the ANC failed to object in time. Special Advisor to the National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula says had the NPA found out what it was looking for when it raided her house, it would have arrested her. Last week, the NPA raided Mapisa-Nqakula's home in Johannesburg in search of evidence relating to corruption allegations against her. She allegedly solicited 2.3 million rand bribe from a defense contractor when she was defense minister. Mapisa-Nqakula has since taken leave of absence. Mike Ramakoma has accused the NPA of trying to embarrass the speaker so that she would resign.
I believe the decision to arrest her was made before the raid. I think the intention was that if they found the things that they were looking for in the raid, they would have arrested her. Unfortunately, they didn't find them. They came there. After the raid, of course, they left. After the search and seizure, they left a list of items that they were looking for. A handbag of a particular designer name, a bear skin with a head and claws, cash amounting or exceeding 20,000 in either South African or foreign currency, a wig, those kinds of things. They did not find those things. And I think that's the reason why they decided to leave without having arrested her that day.
Kingswood College in Makhanda and the Uyinene Mkhwetyana Foundation in the Eastern Cape have held a commemorative lecture in honor of Uyinene Mkhwetyana. The former University of Cape Town student died 5 years ago after a post office official raped and murdered her in 2019 when she went to collect a parcel. Mkhwetyana was 19 years at the time of her death. This year's theme of the lecture is prioritizing safety and security in the prevention of gender-based violence. The deceased mother, Nomangwane Mkhwetyana, says it still feels like yesterday, but as a family, they find strength in honoring their loved one in such events.
Days like today are where we draw our strength as a family, where we see Uyinene being remembered for who she was. We can see that her legacy still lives on, and that really is comforting for us and everyone, who has been sending messages of support from the family and the country as a whole. So that's really helping us to move on.
These Kingswood College learners shared the lessons they've learned from the lecture.
What really stood out to me was the antagonistic relationship between masculinity and femininity, and how ethics can be the solution towards addressing the issue of gender-based violence.
What really stood out to me was the idea of that we must raise our kids to be people and not necessarily boys or girls, and that we need masculinity and femininity to coexist.
The NPA in the Western Cape says it remains resolute in opposing bail for 4 persons accused in the disappearance of 6-year-old Jocelyn Smith at Saldanha. The case of one of the accused, Laurentia Lombard, was this morning postponed to May 13th by the Vredenburg Magistrates Court to enable her to reappear with other co-accused. Lombard was remanded in custody after she abandoned bail. The state indicated that Lombard had made a confession linking her to the missing child. Jocelyn, a grade 1 learner, has still not been found after she went missing from her home in the Middle Post informal settlement over a month ago. All the accused face charges of trafficking in persons and kidnapping. NPA provincial spokesperson Eric Ntabazalila.
No, the position of the NPA is clear from the beginning that we are opposing bail. It's a Schedule 6 matter, which means the onus is on them to prove to the court that it's in the interest of justice for them to be released on bail.
And finally, votes have been counted in Senegal following the first round of the country's presidential election yesterday. The first trends that polling stations have published reveal a notable lead of the opposition candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye over his government opponent Amadou Ba. It's a decisive vote that could either promote continuity or initiate significant change after 3 years marked by instability and political crisis. Observers and civil society have commended the electoral authorities for hosting a peaceful voting process. Channel Africa's Pamela Kumba reports from Dakar.
After 10 hours of voting, the first results are starting to emerge for the presidential election. The results published bureau by bureau give the advantage to the main opposition candidate Bassirou Diomaye Faye with 66.7%. He is far ahead of the government candidate Amadou Ba, 36%, and far much ahead of the 15 other competitors. Late Sunday evening, Diomaye Faye, addressing his supporters already celebrating his victory, said he's confident, but in the worst case scenario, they will go for the second round of the elections.
Recapping your top story, the special advisor to the National Assembly Speaker, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula, says had the NPA found what it was looking for when it raided her house, it would have arrested her. For SIFM News, I am Luyanda Maume. Headlines at 2:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
SACE wishes all teachers a happy 2024 Human Rights Month and calls upon a stop to violence against our teachers. Teacher rights are human rights. Together we can create a brighter future for learners through safeguarding the rights of teachers. Hashtag Hands Off Our Teachers 2024 campaign. Proudly brought to you by SACE, the South African Council for Educators.
The Blues are looking for nothing but victory to cement a decent top half position.
Mudryk takes over. Mudryk's through. Mudryk round the goalkeeper. Oh, it's fantastic.
But the Clarets need full points to step out of the uncomfortable zone.
Come on, Jakob. Jakob from Larsen scores. Burnley. Perfect penalty. Keeper went the right way. Too much on it.
This is the Premier League. Witness the superb contest between Chelsea FC and Burnley FC on Saturday 30 March at 4 p.m. live on S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Mangekazi ndilo show me samatamba lelotula oh nyawuza thahla ndaye ndilo oh ndilo Hlabela mambondo. Sichukumisa matamba lelo phumla. Oh faku ndamase sipelekazi tamaku. Oh dear Lord. When I greet my fathers, both living and departed, I say, Shama ngekazi. Oh, dilimbondo, dilimbondo, damlandelo bawo, dilimbondo, ewe dilimbondo, kwaye ndihlabela mambondo. Dilimbondo, dilimbondo, damlandelo bawo, dilimbondo. Hlabela mambondo. Nyabusa Thahla Ndayeni Faku Ungqushe Siqelekazi Ndamase Hlama ngobubende Mambondo Kamaku.
It is Zonke, born Zonke Tikana, coming through with Ndilimpondo. I've concluded, by the way, that of the Xhosa peoples, the Mpondo, particularly the Mpondo tribe, are just incredibly beautiful. I don't know what there was in the waters of that particular tribe, but they're just strikingly beautiful, so gorgeous. My own little bias, we are all beautiful, but there's just something in the waters on those particular days. It is the full circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on this fine Monday afternoon, and it's just gone 10 past 2 o'clock. We're going to be talking around corporate menopause awareness. The movement is called Meno Move, and it leads a cultural shift in workplace support. And we've got the Chief Executive of Business Engage, Colleen Larson, joining me for that conversation. How are you doing this afternoon, Colleen? Are we still trying to get Colleen on the line for our conversation? There has been a big I've noticed there's been a conversation that's being had globally, particularly on social media, around menopause, really being galvanized by so many people, the likes of the Oprahs, the J-Los, and women who are ultimately either entering menopause or in full-blown already. And I wonder, these conversations, are they doing the job, a good positive job in changing the narrative? We've got Colleen now on the line, Colleen Larson, Chief Executive of Business Engage, and they have developed a non-profit called Meno Move, and it's spearheading a transformative shift in the corporate world particularly. How are you doing this afternoon, Colleen?
I'm doing very well, thanks. And you, Bridget, out in the countryside at the moment, so all doing good.
Oh, Saba, well to be in the countryside. positivity and the attitude and just rejuvenating the sense of self.
Absolutely, Bridget, but great to be chatting to you as well. And thank you so much for the listeners for tuning in.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into this. So Menomove is it's developed by a non-profit Business Engage Association, and the entire movement is around spearheading a transformative shift, particularly in the corporate world as it pertains to our engagement and our interaction with a natural phase of a woman's life journey. Am I getting that correct? What was the sort of the driver behind initiating Menomoves?
Well, I for everything we do, Bridget, it really is about normalizing conversations and making sure that we're not making things a women's issue. In the work environment, we have got every single person that is impacted by menopause in some way, whether it's the woman going through, whether it is their colleagues, whether it is parents, wives, whatever, we are all impacted by menopause. And so from a conversation perspective, I find that we are having a lot of conversations around all other issues which are so important, but one that impacts every person is not discussed in the work environment, and it's not normalized. So that was our move, to really normalize the conversations and to develop the support structure, the education, everything around menopause for both men and women to get involved in the conversation.
Yeah, and the irony of it, Colleen, is that menopause affects all women. We live in a country that's majority females, and you would think that this is a conversation that would be openly had, because it speaks to so many other things.
That's right. But I also think that there's a lot of conversation happening with not too much impact on the ground. So, we are an organization of impact. And so for us, it's the education around these topics, but also finding ways to really mobilize support, education, getting rid of the myths, and really providing that impact on the ground so that we can move forward and know that we've got the support structure for things that women go through in their lives. And as I said, this is something that every woman goes through, but every man that is impacted as well also goes through it. So it is an initiative for everybody to become involved.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on what that impact on the ground looks like. But before we go there, I also want to, help us understand the menopause as a human issue. As you say, it's not a woman issue. And in fact, one of your partners in this initiative, Liberty 2 Degrees, the chief executive said menopause is a human issue. It's not a woman issue, because it speaks to issues of diversity, inclusion, and giving women a sense of belonging, particularly in corporate South Africa.
Well, essentially, there are so many myths around menopause as well, which I think is I'm hearing horrific stories about things that are happening. I mean, a lady that was put into a psychiatric home because she was she was having mood swings and she was becoming aggressive, and they straight away put it down to bipolar. And after 8 months of her being in the psychiatric home, she was actually diagnosed as having menopause. So I think the more that we've got these myths that are coming around, the more you've got impact on homes, you've got impact in the work environment in terms of productivity, in terms of just knowing that that is a period that all of us will go through, and how do we support those women going through it, and how do we allow people to understand the myths and get rid of these myths through education, training, having conversations, and just making it, normalizing those conversations, which is so important. Not addressing it, oh, well, yeah goes another topic. It's really making those conversations normal. whether it's at home or in the work environment, it is a part of life.
Absolutely. And in terms of the impact that you say, there's not enough impact on the ground, what would the impact to individual and all of us as a collective look like that will ultimately provide the right kind of support and the right kind of understanding and change the narrative?
What we've actually done, Bridget, is that if you look at a lot of the information and the conversations around menopause, they are basic things. So here's the basic information. These are the different stages you go through, but now call us in to come and do training and development. What Business Engage is a collaboration of currently 115 corporates that are mobilizing together in gender mainstreaming across Africa. So what we have done is we've developed a platform that allows our corporates to log on to get every bit of training information, to get an ability to have those conversations, to have Meno conversations. We've got a chatbot that we have developed for basic information. We have got virtual cookery classes that actually introduce you to how to cook for menopause, why we recommend that. So essentially every expert that you can think of with regards to the topic. So you don't have to look far to actually get all the information that you need in order to develop a support structure. We've even gone as far as developing branding that a corporate can use to develop a branding campaign around menopause and getting involved. So everything that you can think of has been developed and put onto one platform rather than you having to go and Google all over for the information, which I think will allow more corporates on the ground to get involved so that we can show that it is a big impact, not just a little trickle of information we're trying to create.
You guys also speak around menopause, being not just being about respect and compassion, but that it's a business imperative. How so?
Well, essentially, if your staff aren't, if across the board, if your staff aren't productive, you are going to have downtime with regards to your company. So it makes sense to develop those support structures. So when somebody is going through menopause or you are dealing with menopause in the work environment, you can alleviate times when there is down production. So essentially, all corporates want to be productive. And the only way you can be productive is if your staff are 100% committed and supported. So when somebody is having downtime, allow on the support so that they can quickly get back and know how to give them that support to get back into full production.
And like we keep saying, we live in a majority female country. And these are things that should be considered. As much as we say, as you say, everyone will be affected because ultimately everyone has a female in their life, even if you are not female yourself. And these are things that should be top of mind when we're looking at personal and professional health. So what would some of your advice to corporates that are listening, or even people who, lead their own sort of small to medium scale businesses and teams, what would be some of your advice in as far as the things they should be considering when it comes to this conversation around menopause and business, frankly?
Well, essentially, instead of making it a conversation that we have in women's forums and women's groups and that type of thing, normalize the conversation, bring it within the mainstream of the business, but then allow for all the information, all the support, all the guidance, everything to be provided so that we can get rid of the myths and then collaborate with others, because essentially there is so much being done around this initiatives that instead of us doing it all in silos, let's all come together and make a big impact on the work environment.
And there's this huge conversation that's happening globally that I alluded to before we began our conversation today. I've been seeing the likes of, megastars like Oprah Winfrey, J-Lo, all these women of a particular age driving this conversation around conscientizing people. And as you're saying, making it exclusive, making it an accessible, non-taboo chat and conversation. But it's been women that have been primarily driving this. So is there a gap for men to come into the room and dialogue, or must they just sit quietly in the corner and listen to what we have to say?
I think with our whole conversation that we have around gender mainstreaming, Bridget, you cannot do it without the men. The work environment is, even though we are 50%, the other 50% are the men. And so, if we're not actually bringing the men into the conversation, we mustn't be surprised when they don't know about these things. They might know about menopause, but they haven't got the impact of what women go through in terms of menopause, because we've never allowed them that opportunity to come within the conversations. So for me, on every single topic that we speak about with regards to gender mainstreaming, whether it is menopause, gender-based violence, whatever issue we speak about, we need to have men as integral part to those conversations if we want to have success.
Lovely. Let's go to WhatsApp, actually. Someone wants we're just getting our WhatsApp ready. I think I'm fast on the trigger today, and my team is still on Sunday vibes. Let's go to WhatsApp, 086 000 2032. If you're listening to our conversation around menopause, it affects all women at some point in their lives. And ultimately, we all have a woman in our lives in some form or another. And so it will affect your life as well, even if you are a man. 086 000 2032 is the number you can call us on, or 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
Good day, Bridget and your guests at the studio. This is Anonymous from Mpumalanga. Wow, what a beautiful topic on menopause. Yeah, the other thing that needs to be addressed about menopause is the stigma. Because when you are at work with colleagues and you start feeling those hot flashes and you need an air conditioner or you just want some space, they will say, now you're having hot flashes. So you have to feel very bad about it, like you are old, you are useless. Like, hey, the stigma is terrible. So you'll find it's difficult to even say that you are feeling hotter than the rest of the team. Yeah, it's terrible. Beautiful topic. Keep it up.
That was Anonymous sharing that. And that's the unfortunate part, right? Something so natural is often met with so much negativity.
Absolutely, Bridget. And that's why once we start normalizing conversations and start making it a part of the business environment, I think, those type of things will be dealt with. It's not going to happen overnight, but as we move forward and as more and more corporates start getting involved and more people, both men and women, start getting involved in the action, I think we will start seeing the reduction of stigma.
And that, I think, also, Colleen, also speaks to workplace culture and being conscious about the kind of culture and the kind of sensitivities that we sort of highlight within our professional settings.
That's right, and that's why, I mean, as a collaboration of corporates, we strongly believe that essentially if a corporate is going to get behind some of these topics, whether it's gender mainstreaming or any other topics like that, it shows that they are keen on making impact on the ground, that it's not just a talk shop. But it does take action on the ground. You can't just speak about it. You've got to actually take the action on the ground. I've always said advocacy without delivery on the ground is absolutely meaningless. Absolutely. And so for me, I want to see corporates that put their action behind their words.
Thomas in Newcastle, let's go to you quick before we head into the headline news. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for inviting us. At least you guys can't do it without us, especially because right now I'm exposed into it. We're going through it at home. Mind you, the operative word is we, because I get involved. Just now it's hot, and then it's cold. Everybody must put on a heater, and it's quite frustrating and funny at the same time. But then, on a serious note, my wife wants to kill me each time I take a jab on this one.
Yes, you see, so Thomas, err on the side of caution with the jabs, brother. Just chuckle by yourself there in the kitchen, And thank you for sharing the male perspective. That was Thomas out in Newcastle, and I love that, and I think it speaks to what you're saying, Colleen, as we wrap it up, that we can't do it alone because we are in relation with the other gender.
Absolutely, Bridget. And it just makes things so much more rewarding when you can do it with somebody rather than on your own.
Absolutely. Colleen Larson, thank you so much for the time today. That was Colleen Larson, Chief Executive of Business Engage. It's just gone 2:30 on the Full Circle.
Thank you, Bridget. In your headlines, the High Court in Pretoria has granted the National Prosecuting Authority's Asset Forfeiture Unit 3 forfeiture orders connected to illegal mining kingpins in the Northwest and Gauteng provinces. The 3 final orders, totaling an amount of 18 million rand, are for 51 vehicles, 7 properties and 16 bank accounts. The Electoral Court has confirmed that judgment in the ANC's application challenging the registration of Umkhonto weSizwe Party has been delayed. Delivery of judgment was expected earlier today. And Temu and Shein, 2 online marketplaces, have seen a spike in orders from South Africa, and their logistics partners are having trouble keeping up. Temu's aggressive growth in the country, fueled by millions of rands of spent on marketing, should not come as a surprise. I'll have details on these and other stories at 3.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Listen, on this particular show, we can go anywhere, right? So we can have a conversation around menopause, and then chigi, you blink. And we are talking to the first black woman to graduate with a applied data science PhD from the University of Johannesburg. And we've got Dr. Kensani Shiburi, who's the first black female recipient of a PhD in applied data sciences, joining me now. Born in a little village in Limpopo called Peningutsa. How are you doing this afternoon, Doc? Dr. Kensani?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Doc. I'm fantastic. Obviously not as great as you after graduation, which happened just a few days ago. Congratulations on making history.
Thank you so much.
I mean, firstly, let's start by, the significance of this moment for you, now being the first black female recipient of a PhD in applied data science from the University of Johannesburg.
It feels really great. It feels amazing. It feels unreal. I mean, the attention that the story has gotten in the past week is just crazy, and a lot of people, young and old, have really been inspired. So it feels really good.
I can imagine, Dr. Kensani, that growing up in the little town of Peningutsa outside Malamulela, which is a remote village from what I understand, that there weren't a lot of applied data scientists that were orbiting your environment. And so for you, when and where did this dream become the desired reality?
Yeah, so definitely coming from a rural place like Beningotza, there was definitely no trailblazers in this field. But lucky for me, I had a brother who was also in my computer science, and he recommended that I do a degree called Become Informatics or Information Systems. And at the time, I had no idea what that was all about. But just because I trusted him, I went with that degree. And later on, I fell in love with the field. And when I was now considering doing my PhD, I was looking at something that was current and something that was relevant. And also with my background, which is in IT governance and the current boom that is happening right now with data science and artificial intelligence, and how a lot of organizations are using this data science to get insights that keep them relevant, I wanted to do something around that topic. And that's how I got into applied data science.
Lovely. And I mean, I'm going to ask you to explain to us in the simplest ways that we can comprehend what your research topic was on. But before we even get there, I also read, in your words that you said the journey was both demanding yet exhilarating. And I know from time to time, especially when we're talking to female trailblazers, we often ask the question of balance, right? But particularly for me, I ask it from the perspective of also knowing the various social demands and responsibilities that are often placed on a girl child, and the obstacles that often come in the way also of that child's achieving greatness, And I wonder for you, how did you navigate, because you were also working simultaneously to you pursuing this PhD?
Yeah, so hence I said it was challenging, but at the same time very exciting. So I had a full-time job. I have a full-time job. So, however, for me, it was more just the balance between my full-time job and just focusing on the studies and maybe a glass of wine here and there with friends and family. But mostly it was just that balance between my schoolwork and my full-time job.
Yeah. The glass of wine in between, whatever your vice, always comes in handy.
It does.
Always comes in handy. And let's also talk about, the sort of, whilst we're still on the demands of responsibility, would you say that this also somehow maybe, contributes to the percentage of women that we are seeing taking up STEM careers? And when we juxtapose that with knowing that there is a considerably higher percentage of young girls who graduate with degree distinctions at matric versus their male counterparts, and yet that number doesn't correlate with the percentage of women that we're seeing taking up STEM careers.
I think it does. I mean, the field it does require like a lot of time and a lot of effort. And, if you're a woman who needs to also balance with having a family and children, it gets hard. But at the same time, I feel like if you tell yourself that this is what you want to do and you put in the time and put in that balance, you can actually achieve whatever goal it is that you have, as long as you tell yourself that this is what I want and I'm going to make it happen, because no one is going to make it happen for you. And you sitting there and making excuses also is not going to get you anywhere. So I think it's just something that we need to take up as women and just go for our dreams.
Now, the good doctor there for a second, it felt like Dr. Kensani was shouting at me directly.
No, sorry.
It's okay. Procrastinators will procrastinate. Let's talk about the research. What does the research entail, if you can help us understand it?
Okay. So artificial intelligence there's been a lot of bias that has been noted from this artificial intelligence that is being implemented out there. And my focus was to say we need to look at the impact that AI has on society and try and come up with controls or ways to ensure that as we build this AI, we include the society that we say we are building this AI for. We make sure that we identify any bias that could come out of it and also try and mitigate that bias before the implementation. So I can give an example with a recruitment tool that is used out there or that has been built out there. And a girl child goes in there to apply for a job that has to do with maybe to apply to be a doctor. They have the right qualifications, they have the right training, but because based on the historical data that was used to train this model, according to the model, for you to be a doctor, you have to be a male. So as you put in that CV of yours, immediately it kicks your CV out because of that historical bias that says a doctor cannot be a female. Or when you're applying to be a nurse and you're a boy child, but because history says no, ladies are supposed to be nurses and not male, then you are discriminated in that way. So my research focused on creating a process model that ensures that we put the right controls in place, we include all the different societal groups, and we also test these models against the different societal groups to ensure that none of the societal groups are being discriminated.
I see. I definitely feel that we got a good grasp on that. And when you were busy in sort of the researching development stages for your thesis, was there anything that sort of intrigued you or interested you from some of the findings?
I think one of the biggest findings was to say there's not a lot of women in this field. So as part of my research, I had to interview like AI managers, people that manage this space, and I also had to interview data scientists or AI developers that actually do the development. And it was hard for me to find ladies that were in that field. So already with that, if it's just men that are developing this models, there's already bias in there. And then another one was the fact that I was saying we need to start involving society so that society can ask the right questions. As the developers or as organizations, you must be able to tell me as society to say this is how my model got to its position or to its result. So what we found was that some of the society, because we also interviewed society to say, how do you feel about this? And there was a group that was like, for us, we depend on the government. Government should be the one that ensures that they have the right AI regulations to regulate these models. And then at the same time, there were others in the groups of society that were like, we want to be involved. We would like to understand how these models are built. We would like to understand how these models get to their decisions.
And finally, Dr. Kensani, let me also ask you, because I found very interesting on my few engagements with PhD doctors as to how they come about deciding on the institution to undertake their PhD. For you, how did you derive at the decision to complete your PhD with UJ?
I think for me, it was more like recently UJ has been voted as one of the best universities when it comes to research output. And I mean, PhD is all about research. So I wanted to be part of such an organization. And also, I think me going with UJ was actually one of the best decisions because the team that I was a part of, which is the Center for Applied Data Sciences, they were very supportive. They literally believe in you and they literally hold your hand throughout the research.
Listen, you are a better woman than me. That's for sure. Congratulations on this history-making accomplishment, and that was Dr. Kensani Shiburi, who is the first Black female recipient of a PhD in applied data sciences. Let's take a quick break here. Aldrin St. Pierre is coming through.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.3 FM in Rustenburg. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I mean, that good sounds like you had a good
it must
weekend.
be like a good. Yeah, actually, I did have a good weekend.
Counting down.
Yeah, I did have a good
I'm
good
not going to
weekend.
say to what, but he's counting down.
Curating art, as as Ntabi Singh has just said.
What's coming up today?
So coming up on the show this afternoon, a major focus is going to be on the court application that has been brought by the National Assembly Speaker to interdict the police from arresting her. So the matter was supposed to have been heard early this morning, but the Speaker had been asked to file answering affidavits, and the matter will now be heard at 3 o'clock. We hope to take that full chunk live on the show so that people hear what the NPA's case is against Nosiviwe Mapisangakula. Actually, in their affidavit, the NPA indicates that as far back as the 10th, of March, and they were already done with the investigation against her, including that a decision had been taken already back then to prosecute her.
But didn't Bantu say this, that there was a decision that was taken and her arrest was held off because of whatever for a couple of weeks?
So it was going to be so we've been reporting on the imminent arrest that is going to be happening, because also in the letter that came from the NPA, they indicate that they may have to invoke the section of the Criminal Procedure Act to arrest her, because they have been in negotiation with her lawyers so that she can hand herself over initially. According to the NPA, they say that she was going to hand herself over at the Littleton police station. Things then changed, and that's the reason why there was that email that was sent to her lawyers as well. She's denying that she had agreed to actually hand herself over to the Littleton police, but that will all now play out in this court application for me, which is it's extraordinary that you have a National Assembly Speaker facing these charges that she's facing.
But it's extraordinary on the one hand, and on the other hand, given the state of South Africa and our conversations around corruption and what are those fancy words you're always throwing around? Malfeasance.
Yeah.
Given all of that, I mean, ultimately, at some point, one is going to see, people of that stature and influence and power in the dock.
Well, this is what people have been calling for.
Yeah.
Like, who are the powerful people, the influential people that we're going to be seeing in orange overalls? And again, these are allegations that are made against the National Assembly Speaker, which she is denying. But the witness has turned state witness in this investigation. And for me, what's important with this as well is from the NPA side, because remember that Nombasa, according to the Speaker already, in her papers, that as far back as I think it's 2014, if I'm not mistaken, I could have the year wrong. An investigation was already instituted by the military police against her. Against Nombasa, which had led now to the decision by the NPA to prosecute Nombasa. But Nombasa then turned state witness. Yes.
Hey, Sobona Pambili.
Indeed, Sobona Pambili. So we're going to be taking that matter live, and I'd love to hear from you as well, from our listeners, what their take is on what they're hearing. And then also still staying with the courts quickly, remember that the Electoral Court was supposed to hand down judgment today on the case of the ANC against the Electoral Commission's decision to register the MK party. An electronic copy was supposed to have been delivered today. A decision was then taken that will no longer happen, but there will be an oral judgment that will also be handed down tomorrow now. And instead of it being handed down in Bloemfontein, as some people have expected, because the matter was heard in Bloemfontein, it will be handed down in Johannesburg. But we will be speaking to one analyst just to try and give the possible reasons around why something like this could happen, but also that legislation actually does allow a presiding officer, depending on where they're sitting, to say that, okay, this is where the matter will be handed down. So that's one of the conversations that we're having this afternoon.
Bracing ourselves for turbulent times ahead. Kuningia. Aldrin St. Pierre is coming through between 3 and 6 o'clock.
Whether we are at the workplace, within communities, at school, or with our friends and family, we all need to demonstrate the kind of responsibility that we would like to see in our country's future. SFM commemorates Human Rights Month.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Okay, we wanted to leave you on a slightly more warmer note after all of that, because everything that's coming up on Beyond the Headline this afternoon could just induce anxiety within any South African. And we've seen the return, right, of low-rise jeans to reboots of classic TV shows, shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, for instance, and Full House. We've also seen big brands like Gap partnering up with our very own Tyler. But the one thing that's very clear from everything that I've just mentioned here is that brands are taking us back, way back into time. We're dipping back into the 90s and the early 2000s through advertising in what's being called the nostalgia effect. So how is nostalgia shaping consumer choices? And we've got Jonathan Spencer joining us for this quick final conversation. How are you doing this afternoon, Jonathan?
Great, thanks, and you, Bridget. Thanks for having me.
It's only a pleasure. All right, I unpack for us this nostalgia effect, because I think wherever you go, I was saying to someone the other day, I walked into one of the big international retailers, and I literally, every garment I saw, I said to myself, oh, I had this in 1992. Oh, I had this in 1994. I had this exact same thing in 1990. What's happening right now?
You know, it's been crazy. I think we've seen ever since, like you said, ever since 2021, we've seen like a nice rise in nostalgia marketing. And what's happening, I think, is that it just resonates with such a large audience base. You know, it's millennials and Gen Zs, which is a large customer base for every retailer at the moment. And you know, reminiscing amongst those times is, you know, it's tapping into cherished memories of the late 90s, early 2000s. And I think we see, like you said, see it in fashion, interior design, and advertising. So, yeah.
Very interesting, this sort of time capsule we find ourselves in. What makes it so attractive for us to go back into these particular eras?
You know, it represents a simpler time, you know, filled with iconic cultural touchstones, you know. So like we said, like from beloved TV shows to catchy pop music, I think you probably see that on radio as well. You know, a lot of song references have been mastered and remixed from some of those early songs that we experienced during our childhood as well. And it holds that whole era holds a special place in the hearts of millions. So yeah, that's why.
We are in conversation with Jonathan Spencer, and of course he's the brands and campaign manager at One Day Only. And interestingly, Jonathan, I don't know, but I would think that this provides an interesting opportunity to be optimized by brands and products alike, right? Because you have the capability now of tapping into two different generations that oftentimes like to think they're on opposite ends, and suddenly here you've created the space where you know the one can go back into yesteryear and reminisce quite fondly, and the other one is suddenly enlightened as to how cool and fun things were in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, for Gen Zs, you know, we see them experiencing for the first time some of the stuff we did in the 90s and even in the early 2000s when they were still kids, you know, like from some of the fashions, you know, especially to some of the music. And I think for millennials, I know for myself, it's really a lovely, like, you know, walk down memory lane. And it definitely, you know, kind of makes you feel like you would want to shop more. You know, 52% of shoppers are more likely to make a purchase that makes them feel more nostalgic. Okay. So, yeah. So, I mean, so in that, you know, in a recent study, we've seen, you know, 72% of participants reported that nostalgic memories motivated them during challenging times. You know, so, you know, that we see now, especially when selling, you know, products and through campaigns, that it's definitely a nice way to, you know, tap into, you know, that psychological behavior of people.
Absolutely. And does this is this leading to an increase in spending and market impact? What kind of trends are you guys seeing at One Day Only?
We're definitely seeing that, through our current campaign that we've done now in March, where we've tapped into this nostalgia marketing. We've seen that it's really resonated so nicely with our customers. And, it also kind of just communicates to customers that we share and understand their values and experiences. And with that, people then are more likely to make a purchase with us because they trust us. We're on the same journey with them. We've had the same vibes happening, so they're more inclined to shop with us. And I think that's what we've seen this last month, and it's been really, really nice. Is to see that it really resonates with our customers, and they're on the ride with us. As we walk down memory lane.
Yeah. Are there particular also, I guess, trends maybe that you're seeing have a bigger uptake than others, or that are resonating bigger than others, perhaps?
Oh, definitely. I would say, when it comes to fashion, I would say that's definitely a trend that nostalgia is really getting into at the moment. Not so sure how happy we all are about all of the things that are coming back, like the low-rise jeans. But, we've seen that come through in some of the products that we're selling on our site at the moment as well. So, like, a lot of the styles that were, really popular back in the day are now, now widely purchased by some Gen Zs and millennials again. And also then we see, obviously, with interior design as well, where it's, the colors are coming back. I think the Pantone color for the year was peach, and it was such a good color in the 90s. Every that terracotta mixed with green. It was like everyone had like that pink bathroom. So, it's definitely coming back again, interior design, and also in terms of styling. Albeit, though, I would say that today we're using it as a springboard to kind of make it better. We're refining it. Do you know what I mean? We're not just, reliving it. We're refining it and making it better. Yeah.
I mean, listen, there's definitely, I think, some trends that we can all agree need to stay where we left them. You talk about those garage peach bathrooms that we'd see and pink bathrooms that we'd see. I think those can be left behind. And some of this, what I'm calling the Flintstone movement that we're seeing in fashion, we can all we can leave that alone.
Definitely.
Awesome stuff. And just, a lot of people, before we let you go, a lot of people obviously keep a keen eye on One Day Only because you guys always do interesting things. Do you have some interesting campaigns and things coming up in the near future that we should be keeping a keen eye on?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got one of our big campaigns coming up. Well, today is our payday campaign. So we've got some really hot deals for payday. And then we've got another day only coming up as well, which is the last Thursday of this month, which is on Thursday. And we bring back everything that was our bestseller in the month. So it becomes available all over again. And also we've got some fun stuff for the Easter weekend as well. So shoppers should really have a look. We've got some really fun stuff for everybody.
Lovely stuff. Jonathan Spencer, thank you so much for the time today. That was Jonathan Spencer. He is the Brands and Campaign Manager at One Day Only, as we unpacked what is being called the nostalgia effect. Years ago, I heard somebody say that if you partook in the trend the first time around, when it comes back the second time around, sit it out. And I think that spoke primarily around fashion. So if you were wearing it when you were 16, 17, 18, in your teens, living your best high school life, now that it's back for, the second edition, sit it out. I don't know. It's a personal thing, but that's what I heard. That was the rule of thumb that was being purported at the time. I must say, I'm quite partial to the skirts, though, and that's because I missed them the first time around. I didn't get that idea of shorts and a skirt if we're talking about fashion. But now that I'm a little older, it's suddenly making some sense. That is how we wrap it up from myself and my team. We thank you so much for always choosing to be in conversation with us. Aldrin St. Pierre is coming up. It's undoubtedly going to be quite the heated show today with all the hot topics on the agenda. We'll see you tomorrow right here on The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. The conversation does continue on all our social media platforms, is where you'll find me, X as well as Instagram, and the handle is at Bridget Masinga. Inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. Whether we are at the workplace, within communities, at school, or with our friends and family, we all need to demonstrate the kind of responsibility that we would like to see in our country's future. SAFM commemorates Human Rights Month. SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and program